Morning, fellas. It's Saturday, about 10 to 11, and we're working on 68 degrees in the garage. And other than a slight breeze and high clouds, it's not a bad day out here today. Said we're going to get to 72 today. I got the front piece back on the car. You can see where I touched it. I sanded it down, and it fits great. Like it. The hood's just got to come up a little bit on this side, this direction. And we'll line this back up perfectly and take care of the gap there. But we're no longer on body work. As you can see, the car's up on jack stands. I'm going to take the wheels off and get going on the brakes. It's one thing I've always had in the back of my head is I had to redo the brakes. I'll go into that on the next video once I get the wheels off and you can see everything. And I'll give you a good look of underneath the car too. But that's where I'm at. So we'll take the tires off. We're going to store them on the back patio for, they'll probably be out there for about a month or so. And then they'll be back in and put them back on the car. I just figured maybe a month, month and a half, because I'm trying to do this over the holidays. And then with my retirement coming up, that it might stretch it that long because I need to take care of other things other than the car right now. And so we will start on the brakes. I got to give Will Wood a call and talk to those folks, and then we'll get back on it. And then we'll drop her back down and get back on the body work. I'm going to put up most of the paint supplies, clean off the bench so I can get ready to work on the brakes. And that'll be it for now. So, as always, when I have more, I'll turn this back on. Thanks for watching. Later, guys. Hey, fellas. You want to see something sick? I cleaned the tool bench. Yeah. Hasn't been this clean in years. Ever since I started this project, there's always been something on here. This is part of the filler assembly. It goes in the trunk, gas cap. That's my locking cap for the steering wheel when I remove it, theft deterrent. And I found these. Got about 8 of them. I know I got to send. I said I was going to send one to John Kerry. I got to box one up and send them to John. But anybody else want one, just drop me a line. I'll send it in, send it off to you. So, yeah, my son's got his riding bag down from up there, and I guess they're going riding tomorrow. Yeah, of course, it's fall time. It's cool to go riding. I'm going to take the tires off, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss a few things. So, when I have more, I'll turn this back on later. Oh, wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. A few things. When Richard was... Oh, let me turn this off. When Richard was up doing this on Monday, that's where we wanted the outlet. Remember, I had an extension cord draping over the toolbox and then down over and plugged in here. And we just put an outlet there. Well, when he did that Monday, remember this project? We pulled this out and we tinkered with it and we got it together. And it recoils real nice and slow, so it'll go. And tied a knot in it. We didn't put too much spring tension on it. So we're back on the garage door light project, so that'll be another one. So I'm thinking get that done probably once I retire. And stuff's starting to pile up now, and I'm not even retired. Let me get this in here. Yeah, stuff's starting to pile up, and I'm not even retired. The other thing I want to do is I'm going to paint the bench and the backboard because it definitely needs it. You can see where I put the gun. And I got room for my next gun, which will be the finished gun, and they'll be up there. But yeah. Everything's all dusty and dirty. But yeah, I'm thinking of painting this. When I pull one of these down, I'll show you what these are. These are nails that I countersink the back and then you weld in on a piece of flat metal, and it just works out so well. Richard showed me that trick. So again, as always, thanks for watching, guys. When I have more, I'll turn this back on later. Hey fellas, the tires are off, and they're in the back patio, and I'll probably be out there a month, maybe 2. I don't know yet. Depends upon how this all start going to go in. There are my boxes from Willwood as far as my front calipers, and the rear calipers are concerned. I need to get those. I've been in contact with Willwood once on the phone and once with email on these brakes. And well, first, before we get to that, let me tell you the story. When I was going to do the Camaro, I first originally was going to do it almost pure stock, and then my father passed away. And as a tribute to him, I figured I'm going to sit there and dump a little bit more money into it from his inheritance, and do the direction I've gone with it now. I had original 68 stock 327 that had 98,000 miles on it. I had a Muncie 4-speed sitting in here. I had a pair of Camelback heads. I mean, it was going to go back all 68. It was a 68 Muncie that I had too, and I had found a 12 bolt that I was going to put in because this was a 10 bolt. This car was an original 6-cylinder, 235 with 3-speed on the floor, and then somebody pulled the 6 out of it and put a 350 truck motor in it. And so, but when Dad passed away, since he's the one that got me into this, I figured a little tribute to him that we'll just kick it up a notch, and we'll go this route with the Heights Pro G front suspension, and the Curry rear end with the 4-link in the back with the Panhard bar. And so the only Heights distributor in town was Tucker Classic Automotive. And so I called Heights, and that's told me who I had to go through, and I went to Tucker's and sat there and ordered everything. And when I ordered it, I told them I wanted the front suspension with the tubular A-frames and the big sway bar and the coilovers, and we'll put 13-inch Willwoods all the way around on all 4 corners. And I told them, I said, I want to set this up for autocross. No point in getting all this suspension if we don't do it. The rear end was a Curry 9-inch with 370 gears. You can see the coilovers, the Panhard bar, and then the 4-link setup. There's one bar and there's the other bar. So as parts came in, Tucker's, and I had Tucker's do all the powder coating too, which sucked, which I had to redo most of it. But as parts started coming in, I started inventorying, going, okay, fine, good, and everything. And as I started assembling it, I realized that I didn't have an emergency, the calipers weren't set up for emergency brake, nor did I have, Willwood sometimes gives you, on this hat will be a brake drum on the inside and give you emergency brake set up in there. And that was in there. So I called up Tucker's and I said, hey, why not, what happened to the emergency brakes? I told you I had a cable-driven emergency brake system that I wanted to keep because my plans were all along was relocate the emergency brakes to a handle right in there. I think Low Bar, or can't remember who, but they make them. And so, needless to say, I didn't get it. Hang on, guys. Neighbor's coming up. More in a minute. Sorry about that, fellas. Neighbor came up. So anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, emergency brakes. So they didn't give me the kit for the emergency brakes, and the hat there was wrong. So I said, what are we going to do about it? And they said, well, here, we got an alternative for you. And I said, what? And I said, I told you what I wanted, and we got in a pissing contest back and forth, and they said, okay, we're going to give you this valve. And now the valve is used by a lot of the pure hot rodder guys, like in the 34 Ford coupes and the 32 coupes and the bucket tees and everything else. And what they do is they locate this valve. There it is there. And I, benefit of the doubt, gave them, and they locate the valve, and it's in the rear brake line, and when you push on the brakes, it locks pressure in the rear brakes. I'm getting down on the ground. There's where the valve's located, guys. And they said it locks pressure in the rear brakes. And I said, okay. And they said, that'll work. And I said, all right. Well, maybe it'll work on maybe a conventional brake setup, but it won't work with Willwood. These brakes, we had a hard time bleeding them. The pedal goes almost all the way down to the floor, and it's a few other things that they did. I then sat there and questioned, well, I figured I was going to get 6-piston calipers because I told them I wanted to do autocross. These are 4-piston. I figured the rotors would be a little bit beefier, and as you can see, they're not that thick. So we went around and around and around, and actually I was talking to one of the owners at Tucker's, and more or less sat there and told me, take it or leave it. This is it. Well, before we had this thing all completed, I was going back to Illinois to visit my brother, and Jerry lives up in Haynesville, and Heights at the time was located down in Wakanda, Illinois. I used to live in Wakanda, and they since have now relocated to Lake Zurich, and Wakanda is about 20 minutes from my brother's house. So I call up Heights, ask him if we come down and tour the factory, and they said sure. And I talked to a gentleman there, his name was Mark, and so me and my sons went, and we got there, and they were outstanding. I mean, they just took us all around the factory. What was it, their 70 or 71 Camaro, their demonstration car for this suspension setup. Sat there, and they gave us each a ride in that car, nice long ride in the car, each one of us, and it's me and my 2 sons. And so as we're standing there talking to Mark, I said, Mark, when you buy the Pro G front suspension kit with the subframe, doesn't the transmission crossmember come with it? And he goes, yeah. And I said, it's all included in the price. He goes, yeah. I said, well, you better do something with your distributor out there, Tucker's Classic Auto Parts in Henderson, Nevada, because they charged me an extra $50 for that thing. And he goes, you're kidding me. And he came unglued. He was pissed. Now, I don't know if Tucker's is still Heights distributor here in town, and I really don't care, because ever since that point, Mark allowed me, I can call up Heights and I can deal directly with Heights. I don't have to go through a distributor. Also, as far as Tuckers are concerned, I wouldn't buy a hubcap for a Radio Flyer wagon from those sons of bitches. Not even. And it's very often I hardly swear, but those guys take the cake. So this is why I said I knew I had to rework the brakes, because I don't think they knew what they were doing, and this is my first time with Willwood, and so I can truthfully say I don't know what I'm doing with this type of brakes. I know brakes. I've done disc brake conversions, everything else, but I've never done a performance brake setup, and this is what this is. So I've been in, like I said before, I've been in contact with Willwood. I'm going to they want me to take still pictures on what I have. That's why I saved these 2 boxes on the for the front caliper and the rear caliper, and I'm going to write them a letter telling them what I want to do and what do I need, and whether this setup is good for primarily street driving, and then with the occasional trip to an autocross or a road race course, and see what they have to say. So that's roughly where I'm at on this, guys. So that's why I wanted to wait until this time of year, because it's where I'm in about a 2 to 3 month area to where I can't paint, can't do anything. While the car is up here, I'm going to leave the car up here like that, and I'm going to finish sanding it once I get the brakes sorted out and everything else. I'm going to finish sanding it down and everything else, because the whole thing's got to, and then start masking it up, because the whole thing's got to be primed. But I won't be able to do that until probably March, maybe April, but definitely probably March. Unless we get a freakish thing going on in February, could happen then, but it's hard to say. With everybody getting cold real quick, and we did too, so I'm going to count on March and April is when I get back to painting this. So that's why the bench is cleared up with all the painting supplies. They are put up there. And some down underneath the bench. And that's it. So here's a better look at the suspension for the guys who wanted to look at it a little bit more in detail. Heights is a great kit. I really enjoyed doing this. And the rack and pinions right back, and rack and pinions right. There's the rack. Oh no. A coolant leak. Waited for the fall and I get a coolant leak? Okay, well now I got another thing to fix. You can see my bell housing, which I had powder coated. Chevy orange, the Tremec 5-speed. 3-inch aluminum dry shaft. We'll go to the back and get a better picture of that. Again, the reason why I painted the gas tank was because it was an old street racer's trick. Figured the asphalt black reflect heat up, and the white would reflect the heat back down to the asphalt. So here's the coilover panhard bar, passenger side coilover. You can see the dry shaft loop and the 3-inch dry shaft. And again, this sway bar here, I had powder coated Chevy orange too, so along with the bracket. So that's what the plan is. We're going to go after the brakes. Also, I don't know if you can see it, there's 1, 2, 3 mounting holes. Since we first saw, we picked the middle one to see which way the car was going to go. It's a little too low for us. So we're going to go to the, bring it up to the upper level. Probably have to throw a 4x4 across the frame here and then just jack the body up from the coil after we disconnect the panhard bar and disconnect the shocks. Stainless steel exhaust with a X-pipe. So that's it, guys. So, excuse me. So we're going to be on the brakes for the next couple months. I'm going to get a hold of Willwood. I'll see what they recommend and which way to go. I'm also going to probably change out. Hold on. Let me set this down. Give me a minute. Hang on, guys. Sorry about that, I had to open the hood. After talking to a couple of people at a couple of car shows and everything else, they recommend I get rid of the stock booster and go with a Willwood booster. This is a Willwood proportioning valve, so we'll keep that. But this is going to go. I'm taking everybody's advice to sit there and get these brakes to where they should work, to where they're a performance brake setup. So anybody needs one of these, this is brand new. Well, brand new, sitting there installed in the car. Probably it's about 2 years old, but 0 miles. So that's where we're going to go. So let's see, that's about it. I haven't got too much more to talk about except on the brakes. Again, yeah, I'm not going to put the emergency brake in the stock location with the foot pedal down there. It's going to go in the center hump right there. More fun for when you got to cut that straight corner. Just lock up the rears and go. So, as you guys have a good evening. As always, thanks for watching. When I have more, we'll turn this back on. Have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Later.